But first, on your money, the markets, the economy, oil, crypto, and the whole works now. Joining us live, John Najarian. Dr. J, as he's known on the major financial networks. World traveler, big on the social media networks, by the way, including Instagram, co-founder Market Rebellion, co-author of the awesome book, It's Not an Option, with his brother Pete, and he has the laser eyes on, too, at last check, following the cryptos. John Najarian, thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon.
Oh, it's so good to be on with you, Frank. Thank you very much.
Wonderful. I want to hear more about your trip to Paris. We'll get to that later. But first, your view of the markets here. It's been a while since we chatted behind live microphones, so give us your view of the latest market action here.
Well, so we've officially this week kicked off the earnings quarter for banks. They always come out with it first, really, and the numbers have been pretty astonishingly good. Everybody from JP Morgan to Goldman Sachs to Bank America Merrill and so forth. BlackRock, even not really an investment bank, but certainly one of the large players, they actually had nice things to say about crypto for one of the first times in a while. But I'd say the fact that we're going to be focused on both the ongoing war in the Middle East as well as earnings right now, the markets have shrugged off pretty much this resumption of the conflict, war, whatever it is with Iran right now. The markets have pretty much shrugged it off. The one market that hasn't is, of course, as you said, oil, because it can't shrug it off. A significant percentage of global oil does flow through the Strait of Hormuz. And the fact now that there's live fire going on again, rather than a agreed to truce, this is why the energy markets are seeing a little rise from 68, let's say, a week ago for West Texas Intermediate to about $80 a barrel today.
That's right, 80.40 at last check here, up 80 cents here at the moment. And on your live with John Najarian, Dr. J, on the major financial networks, we see SpaceX getting attention today. It got down to as low as 132 and changed below the IPO price, which was 135. And as you remember, since that was the epic IPO a few weeks ago, that it hit the market at 150, but it was priced at 135. Looks like it closed just above 135, by the way, down 81 cents to 135.27. What's your reaction to SpaceX's stock breaking below its IPO price for the first time? And what do you think about SpaceX stock?
Well, I still would be looking to get into SpaceX again. I've traded it some here, but I thought that we would see some pressure. I don't know if the pressure's enough to carry it down into the 110 range. I'd love it if it was. But if you look at the last time they raised money prior to the IPO, which really was only $75 billion, I say only $75 billion because out of the nearly $2 trillion that it came out at when it first traded 150, as you say, they priced it at 135. But if you looked at where the value was prior on the last round, which was only about 3 months before the IPO, it would have been right around, I think, $84 or something like that. So instead, it comes public at 135. First trade is 150, goes to $225 the very next day. And I'd say most of us thought that it was a little frothy at that level, but we understood why, because there were no shares to borrow at that point. And then just one day later, on the third day that it was listed, they had options. And once you have options listed on a stock, there are a whole bunch of strategies people can employ. And obviously, the biggest hedge funds do exactly that, trade derivatives a lot. And they pretty much took advantage of that frothiness in the market and have taken it all the way back down to here. If the markets in general see weakness, like I say, I think it could trade into the 110 to 115 range. If the markets are robust, then I think this might be the second chance people get to get back in at that, like I say, IPO price, even though, as you accurately said, the first traded price was 150 a share, and then significantly higher than that immediately thereafter.
So let down instead of lift off for SpaceX stock for the time being. In the meantime, their launches are going off like clockwork. Almost every night we're seeing a launch here out of Vandenberg Space Force Base here in California, which those launches are visible here in the Los Angeles area, Beverly Hills, and throughout the entire area. Tomorrow they're going to be launching the Starship again tomorrow afternoon or evening in Texas. So we're going to be watching for that. What are some of the flies, potential flies in the Chardonnay for SpaceX? Everything seems to be going swimmingly for SpaceX. What could happen that would rattle the stock at this point?
Well, when Blue Origin blew up on the launching pad, perhaps 3 weeks ago, maybe it's been as long as a month ago, it basically took them out of the game. They can't fly without a launch pad. They can't get up into space anymore. So a lot of their customers had to come back over to SpaceX to try to get lift, if you will, back out into space for their satellites and so forth. So the fact that Blue Origin, spin out of Amazon, if you will, is struggling right now and has to do that rebuilding, that's something that's a tailwind for SpaceX right now. The fact, as you say, that they're doing multiple launches per week, either out of Florida or California or now Texas, it's pretty darn amazing. So what's the fly in the ointment there? You'd hate to think that they could have a similar disaster to what Blue Origin had. And they've been flying a lot more of the rockets into space, both Falcon 9 and soon now the big super heavies that they've got down there in Texas and so forth with the Starship. I would think most of the focus will be on how quickly they can move Starlink V3 satellites up there, because that's one of the big things that'll be a positive when they get those up there. And the FAA has closed their investigation into one of their issues, which was a booster engine problem. The FAA has closed that investigation. I think that was something that could be somewhat responsible, other than just short sellers and so forth, getting it back down here to this level. I think it was those sort of things that people worry, well, would the FAA have told them, look, you got to pause this because of this reason or that reason? And instead, they're going to be moving ahead, just as you said, with a lot more launches this week and a lot more scheduled for next week.
Very exciting. What about Tesla in all this? That buzz about SpaceX ultimately absorbing Tesla or merging with Tesla or something. Tesla is below 400 here at 394 and change. What about Tesla here?
Well, I like it, and I do think that it's, I wouldn't be the first to say that since Tesla owns the Optimus robot production lines, you would think that if indeed we're going to be seeing data centers in space, those are going to be primarily built by Optimus robots that obviously don't have the same issue that human contractors would have working under those conditions in space. Not that we haven't done enough spacewalks, but obviously a robot that doesn't need to breathe and doesn't really mind the cold or the heat that they could experience out there in space, it makes them an ideal contractor for exactly that kind of work. I think Tesla would be attractive to them, but since you're talking about mergers and things, what about that big one with PayPal and Stripe going after PayPal? Stripe, more or less a newbie in the space, certainly a lot newer than PayPal is, when Musk and, if we want to tie it all back together, Musk and Peter Thiel were part of that PayPal back in the day. And I think it's one of the places where he got his X.com idea from, long before Twitter existed as well. But I think that is an interesting play, consolidation with some private equity firms, both Silver Lake and I think it was Advent Partners or something like that, getting together with Stripe to go after PayPal. And that would be, kind of an end of an era for PayPal, but certainly a great way for Stripe to really own that remittance space that they don't already own. You know, they obviously are a big competitor in there, but this makes them one of the top competitors in that space if indeed they're able to secure the 50% ownership of PayPal that they're seeking right now.
Right, and you're right to point to that Reuters report today. PayPal stock jumping 16% on that story. Payments company Stripe and private equity firm Indeed It Is. Advent International reportedly making an offer to acquire PayPal at $60.50 a share in a deal that would value the payments giant at more than $53 billion. So we are keeping an eye on that one. What about, let's get into some more of the exciting stuff here. Apple at a record high. What do you see for Apple here under its new leadership?
Well, that was, I think, one that very few of us saw coming, that it would see this big a jump this quickly. I mean, Apple, of course, has benefited from their installed base that is very, very loyal to that company. But to see them within, a very short period of time move up all the way to, I think the high today was about almost $330 a share, closed at $327.50. And if you look at it from just a little bit ago, from the end of June, it was $275. So it's put on $50 of upside since the end of June, and here we are just the middle of July, just July 15th. So a pretty strong performance by them, and I'm sure we'll start talking in the next 20 or 30 days likely about what's going to be coming in the fall, which is always a new iPhone and sometimes updates to other Apple products. But yeah, it's that installed base that's a billion plus strong that I think really gets people excited, especially if there's enough of a reason to upgrade on this cycle. I think many of us, I'm one of them, haven't upgraded my phone in quite a while because they last. The battery might not be so great, but they do last. And I haven't been compelled to trade it in for a new one. Maybe this will be the cycle, and maybe this is people getting ahead of that cycle right now.
Yep, I'm with you on that 100%. Now, on the crypto front, do you still have the laser eyes on? I want to clarify that right off the bat here. And Bitcoin just shy of 65K here now. ETH all of a sudden back above 1,900. Doge hanging in there at 7 cents. Are you still tracking cryptos nowadays? And what are your thoughts on the latest price action there?
Well, I was just with a big crypto player out in Vegas last week, and he was nervous, like a lot of them are, I think, right now, because when things come around that remind them of all the different crypto winters that they've had to endure, it's a painful thing. But today's, 3.5%, 4% rally, taking Bitcoin back as high as 65,000, I'm sure was something that gave a lot of those players some relief. And the fact that Ethereum and some of the other cryptos like XRP and Solana and things like that are seeing recoveries as well is a very positive thing for the digital assets right here. There are not a lot of big conferences right now for crypto until we get closer to the fall in October and so forth. So I think right now it's really just people hoping that it trades sideways or builds a better base right here, because obviously it got down to less than half of its 52, or rather its all-time high, just a few weeks ago when it traded into the 50,000 range. So I'm sure for the people that are trading it rather than investing in it, it's been a great ride. For the people that are invested in it, it's been a scary few months as it traded all the way, like I say, through 60,000 all the way into the more or less mid 50,000s.
Before I let you off the hook, John and Jerry, any specific places where you are putting money now and or taking it off the table?
Well, let's see. We did see pretty good volumes in a number of stocks like Apple. I mean, we've already talked with Apple, so I won't belabor it, but there was definitely action all the way out to the October 360 strike with the stock at 325, so that's a bullish trade. Advanced Auto Parts was seeing some really good volumes today, and some of that could be because as prices of fuel go up, people tend to stick with their vehicle a little bit longer. So if somebody or if a lot of somebody's have decided to perhaps wait it out to see when fuel prices come back down into significantly lower levels, that'll take, of course, crude falling from 80 where it is, as you said, 80-40, back into the 60 range. When it does that, then I think we're going to be very happy, and you could definitely take a look at a lot of those car companies. But right now, I'd say Advanced Auto Parts, it seems they're trying to squeeze the last little bit out of their cars. And so that stock was seeing some activity today that implies that by August it will be, if not significantly higher, it'll be another 10% higher, perhaps just in a month.
How was Paris?
Paris was great. Paris is always great. We were out in Vegas at Circa for we were out there with Dana White for Power Slap. We were out there for the UFC, which ended up being a disappointment, of course, because Conor McGregor was either hurt in the fight or perhaps even before the fight with his knee suffering some pretty good damage, I guess. It didn't really look like it at the fight that he did it then. It perhaps had been injured before and then just exacerbated during that fight. But it was great. We were out there with Derek Stevens, the owner of Circa, and he was nice enough to let us pal around with him and Dana White out at the big events. That Power Slap, which is the craziest thing I've ever seen. Two people, men or women, stand across the table from each other and slap each other. But the crowd was one of the craziest crowds I've ever seen at any sporting event. It was an absolute delight to see it, but it was also pretty scary to see big men and or women just standing flat-footed across the table from each other and round by round just, getting a single slap in on each other. There were a lot of knockouts, Frank, and I'm not just talking about the girls in the crowd.
Wow, talking about high fives there. That's quite a description there, John. I've never seen anything like it. Now you got me curious about it. We'll have to Google that up, and of course follow you on social media as well. And as we do already, John, thank you very, very much for that comprehensive update as always. And looking forward to your next update already, John Najarian, Dr. J, as he's known on the major financial networks, and of course also the co-author of the awesome book "It's Not an Option" with his brother Pete. Also co-founder of Market Rebellion. And John, thank you very, very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Super great to be with you, Frank. Thank you so much.